Hey everybody, it's the Knitty Professor. I've been knitting a lot lately. Question is, have I accomplished anything? The answer is, I kind of need you to help me decide if I have accomplished anything, and if so, what? So let's get into it. Now, this beautiful fluffy ball of yarn has been featured on this channel a few times, and I am still at a complete loss what to make with it. I still like the idea of just hugging it because it's inordinately soft. It is, I don't know if it's a blown yarn or if it just has like a core to it and it's spun around. It's called Cloud Tweed. It's by Lang. I bought this at Stephen B back in, I don't know, May. It's even, I've even forgotten when I got you. This is just really not a good sign. It's got 6% alpaca, 10% nylon, 84% wool. And, yeah, it's called, Cloud Tweed. And I have threatened to put googly eyes on it and just call it good. So I still want to knit it, partly because I just want to have it run across my fingers. I think I need to use a big needle to give it lots of air and space to breathe. I'm loath to just do a simple, same old ribbed scarf. I just feel like I owe it more than that treatment to, do it justice. But if you have some ideas, let me know. I've put out some ideas in the past, and some of them have gotten shot down because of the nature of the yarn. And I'm not familiar with this yarn, right? So it's really easy for me to come up with bad ideas of what to do with this fluffy, poofy yarn. But I need a little help with that. Now, let's see here. So I told y'all that I am going to Stockholm. Vacation is something I really don't do a whole lot because my life is super busy. Especially lately, working full-time, working extra, writing, and taking classes, and then I have a sick dog, and it just seems like my, when your kids are in your 20s, they're still like they're 7, like they have lots of needs, and they need mom to be there, and I'm their only parent, so it was wonderful to have my daughter here. Appreciate all of you all who watched us together. It was just so much fun to make that video with her, and she's already gone. I was all day yesterday taking her down to Sioux Falls to the bus. But vacation is coming up. I'm looking forward to just going to Stockholm and just parking and just, I've got my little guide here, got the smallest one that I could find. This is the Lonely Planet guide. And, Stockholm is probably the kind of place that you don't need a whole lot of guidance because there are plenty of people who speak English. So I could probably just stand on any random street corner and say, hey, what do you think I should see? Should I go to this castle? Should I go to the Skansen? Should I go to the garden? But I think this will be helpful. And it does have this pull-up map. And that will definitely be helpful. So I just heard from my Airbnb person. They gave me all the rules and regulations that I can't break. So I'm in the know as far as that goes. And I had to decide what knitting project I was going to bring along. So usually I bring a sock because it's small. I pack very light. I just tend to bring one backpack full of stuff. I'll wash clothes while I'm there. I'll bring a little bar of laundry soap, a tiny toothpaste, bar shampoo, anything that makes it, small. So I have a small computer. I have this pair of socks, of which one is finished. This is just a beautiful yarn. And I actually am capable of finishing socks. Believe it or not, I have like 20 pairs of socks. In fact, I had to wash my socks. I've been wearing them all summer. And they kind of got to where they were like a mountain of the ones that, I like to wash them all together. I have a hand wash setting on my washer. So I do finish them. But lately, I haven't finished a pair. But I'm coming close. So this yarn is from Yoshi and Lucy. I bought this in, I think it was Farmingdale, somewhere near Brooklyn. Anyhow, it's a couple years ago when I visited my future daughter-in-law, and this sock is the Isabel Type 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. Again, I'm trying to wean myself off of that yarn, but in the meantime, I have several skeins I need to knit through. The color here is Senora, and that's what we learned from the back of the label. And I wisely originally had broken this up into 2 balls. So 2 evenly weighted balls. So the first sock is done. Therefore, having begun the second sock, I'm going to bring that with me. It's just, this is all I need to continue. I'll probably bring one extra needle just in case I lose this between the seats in the airplane. Could happen, right? And that will be my knitting project. In the meantime, I am planning, so I don't need a lot of yarn, right? Not that I'm going to stop buying it because it is kind of a habit, but I have to really watch myself now. I have to be disciplined. So my plan is to visit lots of yarn stores because I love yarn tourism. And at each store, get a skein of yarn that's like a souvenir that is compatible with all the other skeins of yarn that I buy at the other stores for souvenir, such that I'll have enough to make a sweater. And it could be like a striped sweater, so it'll be, I'll integrate 9 different, maybe let's say worsted weight skeins of yarn that are somehow comparable. You know, they don't have to be the same wool, but they would probably be a rustic wool, maybe different colors, and I could do stripes, or I could somehow do patchwork. You know, I could have fun with it and just do kind of a souvenir Stockholm sweater. So that's my strategy for how to enjoy shopping for yarn in Stockholm, to buy a different skein that is somehow compatible at each store and knit up one garment that will remind me of my trip. And this is the project that I plan to bring to keep me occupied. And I've even, so I have, we have a Marshall's. Our mall is not great. And the Marshall store reminds me that there is such a thing as more malls that have more stores, and they get like the overstock or whatever. So I bought this. It's a really cute bag. I love the tigers. These bags at Marshall's only cost like $6. And I have a few. I like to use them for sweater project bags. So when I get the yarn in Stockholm, I'll be able to load it in here, and this will be my project bag for my next sweater knit. So I'm kind of excited about that. Looking forward to filling this baby up with yarn that will remind me of a nice vacation. I'm looking forward to trying a lot of different food. I'm sure that the restaurants in Stockholm are great. Don't have to worry about, you know, salmonella or something. I just feel like it's a very safe country to travel in, which is, to be honest, one of the reasons I picked it. I was telling my kids the other day, I was like, I really want to go to Istanbul, and I've heard great things about it. I'm still not ready to just go there by myself, but I told my daughter, I said, your boyfriend is from Russia and very worldly, and it would be so fun to go to Istanbul together with him. And apparently his face kind of lit up when she suggested that to him. So we'll see. Maybe next year, you know, could do like a family trip to Istanbul. It would be awesome. And she was very excited about the prospect of doing that. So we shall see. As far as progress, have I finished a project? No, but you know what? I am making some good progress. So I'm just going to call that a win. This is a scarf I've been working on for a while. As some of you may know, I have taken multiple courses in preparing me to teach classes to prepare teachers of the blind and visually impaired. My PhD is in German. I have a lot of certificates in everything from linguistics to online teaching. So I'm taking the classes in addition to my certification in Braille transcription that will allow me to teach face-to-face courses in our program. And in this particular class, we had to do a kind of a simulation. I think the idea of simulating blindness by putting on sleep shades for a couple hours, it's not really simulating blindness. But that being said, I did get something out of the experience that was useful. And I did, as part of my experience, I cast on and knit several rows of this scarf without being able to see it. I had the sleep shades on. So this kind of reminds me of my effort to try to gain a deep enough understanding of the experience of blind people to write about that, my blind character. And yesterday I had a really neat experience because I was able to get a blind person to read one of those volumes with the blind protagonist. Her name is Nicole in it. And so he read the novel. He has retinitis pigmentosa just like she does. And he gave me a great report. I was just so excited. I was like, you know, did I represent the blind community effectively? Was there any issues? And he said no. There was literally one tiny change that he recommended. It'll be very easy to make. And it was just so reassuring to me to have a blind person say, you know what, you did a good job with the characterization of this blind person in your novel. Keep going. So I'm very encouraged, and I feel happy that I might be able to contribute something to better understanding of the lives of blind people on the part of the sighted community, of which I am a part, so that they'll just have more insights. I had my daughter along with me, and she said, I'm a little nervous. I've never met a blind person before. And I said, well, that's typical. There are not that many blind people out there, you know, especially in a small state like South Dakota. But she was great, you know. She gave him her elbow to help navigate, and he answered her questions. She was extremely, well, you saw, right? Those of you saw her video, the video that I did with her. She's very charming, right? She's very charming. She's also articulate. And at the end of our visit, one of the things we did was to go to his workshop. He loves to do woodworking. And I think it was really fascinating for my daughter to know that a man who can't see can still operate electric saws, table saws, chop saws, and make beautiful artifacts with no capacity to see what he's doing. And that was just fascinating. He gave me a birdhouse. I should have it here with me. I have it outside because I'm going to hang it up in the backyard. But he gave me a gorgeous birdhouse that he made with corks. Just fascinating. So it was a wonderful visit. What else have I worked on? I'd love to know what you've been working on too. So feel free to share your, you know, knitting, whatever's going on. I know it's easy to get caught up in finishing things, you know, and whips and FOs and stuff like that. But honestly, I'm really interested in just what's going on in your knitting life or your crocheting life or your crafting life, because it is a process, and it is something that is sort of a daily practice, I think, for many of us. And I so appreciate that. Now, when my daughter was here, I was like, you've got to see this sock yarn sweater. I'm using up as much leftover sock yarn from all the socks that I have that I had to wash the other day as I can, and putting them into this sweater, which I'm so I did a swatch for this, and I discovered that I can use as a sort of a foil an Icelandic sweater pattern like the Radari or something like that, as just sort of a template to go off of as far as proportions and all that stuff. And I may well do a yoke on this sweater, that remains to be seen. But here's the progress that I've made, and I don't know, personally, I find these colors stunning. And my daughter agreed with me. She was just bowled over by how pretty this is turning out. As most of you already know, I'll just take 2 different balls of yarn, and I'm trying to find now, one of them fell. So currently I have this ball of sock yarn that we're working on, and this little teeny one along with it. So the one on top is going to run out here in a second, as you can tell. So when that runs out, I will replace it with, and she helped me pick out the color, with this one. So those two will be knit up together. And it's just so much fun to watch these colors sort of unfold. And I was even looking ahead at what I could do for the sleeves, because I've decided that the sleeves, even though the sleeves will be drastically different from the body, I've decided that I want them to be symmetrical. That's not necessarily a requirement, right? But I decided that I want that, and I could change my mind. But I'm 3/4 the way up the body now, so I am having to start contemplating what remnants I'm going to use for the sleeves. And that was a lot of fun to have her with me while we were thinking about that. So I've made good progress on my sock yarn sweater. It's very fun. It's relaxing because right now it's just stockinette. I love knitting up sweater bodies because it's just so relaxing. Even more relaxing than socks, because socks, I find my hands go numb and I have to stop. Whereas with the sweaters, it's a looser gauge and it's just a more relaxed knitting experience. So I could knit sweater bodies all day. What else have I made progress on? Yeah, so I told y'all I was going to start a cabled hat. And I was going to use this gorgeous orange and green yarn because I just caught the vision. I was like, this needs to be cabled. So I'm really happy with how this is turning out. Look at that. Look at that. You can just see enough of the texture to make it so interesting. And you know, I could have done a ribbed cap like I've done with so many, but look at that. Isn't that gorgeous how that texture, it's got that depth, like these sort of little pock holes going on in there in a regular way with the irregular color. And the layering of the color over the texture just makes me happy. And I was telling my son earlier today, he's been after me to knit a cabled sweater and showed me one that was basically ribbed. And he's like, well, would this be more approachable? And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I am learning cables for you. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to take on this hat, apart from just wanting to work with this delicious yarn from the Laughing Cat. So I'm so excited. I think this hat, well, I'd like to get it done before I leave for Stockholm. I'm not positive that I will, but I think it's totally possible because I'm making excellent progress with that. And for review, for those of you who've been following along on the ride, I got this at the Red River Fiber Festival in Fargo, Laughing Cat Fibers, and it's a DK weight. It's super wash, 70% merino, 20% nylon, and apparently it's 5% silver stellina. So there's a missing 5% there in this content. I'm guessing that's the merino, but I like to think that maybe that 5% is stardust because that's the picture that the dyeing was based on. But yeah, I'm guessing it's supposed to be 75% merino. In any case, very excited about that hat. It's my first. So I've done a reversible cable project where I just followed the example on YouTube. I did not look at a pattern, but in this case, I am learning how to read the pattern. And that is what is going to enable me to make a cable sweater for my son. I'm very encouraged. What else am I working on? What else are you working on? I hope you're having fun knitting because there's a lot going on that's not fun. So, you know, I don't know. I follow a podcast called Inside China Business and it just makes me angry because it just seems like we're making a lot of big mistakes at the government level in our country. So, yeah, I got a knit to stay sane and write. I have some news about my book, too, in just a minute. But this is my project, and I know I'm only on the ribbing, but, you know, again, this is a sweater body, and it makes me happy to just knit a sweater body. As soon as I'm done with the ribbing, I have another 1/2 inch to go. The pattern requires 2.5 inches of ribbing, but this cashmere yarn is so pleasant to work with. And as I mentioned previously, I got it for a song because of my favorite yarn store in Omaha that is closing because of retirement, which is a good reason to close. So I do not fault the owners for making that decision. And as a result, why I kind of scored here on yarn I would otherwise never have bought. Namely, this, it is called Jade Sapphire and Mongolian Cashmere 6-ply. It is a worsted weight based on the swatch that I made. So 100% cashmere, extraordinarily soft, a true luxury that I normally wouldn't be able to afford. So most time I just use thrifted yarn like this. This is totally thrifted yarn with few exceptions. I think the one exception is probably this cream colored yarn. I ran out of the thrifted cream colored yarn, and a friend of mine dyes her own, and I bought a skein that was very comparable from her. It's the only bought skein, I think, that's not thrifted in this whole sweater. So yeah, I treated myself. But I've kind of got a little dilemma because, so I'll show you the pattern I'm using. I'm going to immediately proceed to a kind of a coral color. So I'm using the pattern for this sweater basically. So I started at the bottom. But you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not like glued to this pattern yet, right? I can do it. But here's the reason why I'm a little torn. A part of me just is itching to integrate these bears into a sweater. And I'm just wondering, is there a way I could use, because I have like 5 colors, is there a way I could integrate these bears into that cashmere sweater? Because it would just be fun, right? I mean, knitting should be fun. That's at least my basic premise. I haven't done any test knitting. I don't sell anything. I get all these questions on TikTok. Oh, are you selling this? I want to buy it. And I don't know. I think they're just Russian bots. But I'm thinking to myself, maybe I could do this little sort of stripy thing in one color. This could be a different color, these leafy things, and then this thing up here. Maybe I could integrate the bears into the yoke. We will see. I'm not ruling it out. So I might stick to the original pattern. I mean, it's beautiful, right? But on the other hand, I could change my mind. The other day when I was in Sioux Falls with my daughter, I stopped by Prairie Road Yarns. In fact, I talked to the owner and we agreed that at some point we would like to do a video to feature her shop. So one of the things I really like about Prairie Road Yarn, it's in Sioux Falls, is she has a very nice selection of Icelandic yarn. And I picked some up. In fact, I might actually do a short. Let me just, I've got a rustling bag here, but I'll give you some samples. So one of the things I picked, this is a new Lopey. Fjalla Lopey. I can't speak Icelandic. Feel free to correct my pronunciation. But it is a sort of a, it's sport / light DK weight is what it's being billed as. Let me see if I can find proof of what I just said, because I swear I saw that it was billed, maybe I saw it online as a sport / DK weight. And, well, you know, you can look at the specs here and decide for yourself. So it's 50 grams, 150 meters, and the needle size that's recommended is, what is that? 3 by 4 millimeters. And I can't remember what size that is in American, but I think I looked it up online and I found that it was sport / DK, light DK. So this is what I am thinking of pairing these two colors in mittens. I have a pattern, which I forgot to bring with me, but it has wheat images on a background. Now the wheat is black and the background is white, but I think it might be fun to do that, you know, or maybe something similar with the purple over the black. In any case, I think the color combination is going to work well. I sort of deliberated for about 5 minutes over the color options because they were very nice. There were only like 10 colors, but there was a lot of appeal. So then the other thing I got was I got several skeins of this Lopey. And again, it's very affordable yarn. It's not like the most affordable, but I have accumulated a small collection of Lopey. Now most of this is thrifted. Going back to, you know, the Reynolds days, and here calling it light Lopey. I thrifted this. It says $3.50 a skein, so that was a pretty good price. And I'll try to show you the colors I have. It's kind of an interesting palette, but I'm just sort of accumulating, trying to figure out where I want to go with these. Let me get out and I'll just show you one by one the colors. And for each color I have like a handful of skeins, so it's a little crazy. But again, that's where creativity comes in. So I have this blue color. And let's find the name. My Icelandic is failing me because I'm not sure where to find the color. Let me just check here. I'm seeing the word litur, but I'm not sure what that means. And there are numbers. Let's just go by the number. Oh, I see. The shade, that means color. So the color is 1404. That's what the color is. This is a cream color. And this one is color 0051. This is labeled in English. If it was labeled in French, I'd be better off. This one is shade 1702. So this is one of the new ones I got. Then we have shade 1705. Those look stunning together. Wow. And then I have more of an autumn theme with color 0441. This is, again, a thrifted one. I have several of these. Beautiful light olive. And a pumpkin colored one, which is color 0436. So clearly, you know, What is that, cat fur? Cat fur. They look very pretty together. But I figure, you know, if I can combine all these colors, right? So this is quite the panoply, right? I've got some similar shades in here. You can see I gravitate over and over again to the same colors. But somehow or other, I think, let's just see. I can do something with these colors that would be pleasing. And it might be 2 sweaters. Now, I armed myself with 6 skeins of the cream, thinking that could be a background color. But in any case, I'm a slight Lopey collector. Let's just put it that way, because I am waiting for the right project to come along to pique my interest, and I've got some ideas. So yeah, that kind of sums up the state of my, I'm going to call this knitting, my report from the knitting trenches. But oh, I have one more thing to show you. I told you I am rapidly progressing with getting book 1 of my novel out after I got a good review from my final beta reader. So I'm working on the formatting, and the cover art is being done by a local artist, and that is what it's looking like. So the book is called The Ancestor, and we're going to tweak this over this weekend. I'm going to visit with her on Saturday. My goal, okay, don't hold me to it, but my goal is to get this book out by September 1st. So with any luck, some of you are on my newsletter. You can go to my virginialewisauthor.com website if you would like to be on the newsletter. The last entry, I talked to my daughter about it. I was like, I should do something in fashion, because I describe lots of clothes, you know, not just knitted garments, but lots and lots of clothes. I have several young people in there, and even some older people who enjoy fashion, male and female. And so I do write a lot about clothes, and I have like a costume professor in there and a student in theater and costume design. So she suggested that I do a newsletter on fashion. So I did that, and I sent that out, and it's called Fiction Fashion. So in any case, we're getting close, people. Getting a lot of great feedback on this novel. It's touching. I'll read you the last blurb that I received. The Ancestor is a most indulgent package of blushes, laughs, and romantic sighs set in an atmosphere of cozy knitted sweaters and hot tea. Lewis's story is more than a romance novel. It's a story about the importance of belonging. So that was the impression that my last beta reader got from the novel. And I'm very excited. So let me know what you're working on, how it's going, and please give me some suggestions for how to deal with this fuzzy guy, apart from just hugging him. He's very cute, but I feel like I'm not doing it justice to just put googly eyes on it. So thanks in advance. I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend, and look forward to reporting next week from some yarn stores in Stockholm. And if you have some inside knowledge about those, please feel free to share it. I would appreciate it. Y'all take care. Bye.